comes a time when you have to sit your kids down and explain the way the world works. From the birds and the bees to bumping uglies, it really falls to a parent to have that conversation with their child. Unless the conversation's about transitioning from a man to a woman to a man, or trying your luck at being neither. Or both, because that's when Lindsay of Queer Kid Stuff has your back with her tried and tested method of confusing and mentally scarring children since 2016.
Hey there, friends!
I'm not your friend, buddy.
I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Teddy.
Welcome to Queer Kid Stuff.
Hi.
Bit aggressive, Teddy. Rein it in, mate. You know Lindsay likes being the dominant one in everything. And I mean everything.
Today we're talking about...
Whoa! What was that, Lindsay?
It was a screen transition, Teddy, and a bit of a metaphor for Lindsay's thoughts on reassigning gender. You see, in order to be trans, you have to actually transition. I mean, the clue's in the name, isn't it? Something about your physical body has to change, whereas you may have noticed, following that screen transition, nothing actually changed. Thus implying Lindsay thinks you can just decide to be trans without, well, putting any effort in. Now, if that wasn't the smartest thing you've heard all day, honestly, I envy you.
That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about...
It happened again!
No, I think that's just because you're high, Teddy. Drink some water.
Are you getting it, Teddy?
What is it? Tell me!
It's on the board! Right there! Just turn your stupid bare head and read it, you moron!
We're talking about transition.
Oh... I don't get it.
You've sat next to a drag queen with an actual beard, yet this is the thing you don't get? Just roll the damn intro. Unbelievable.
Queer Kid Stuff. You are enough here at Queer Kid Stuff. Ready, Teddy?
Ready, Lindsay.
Okay, today we're talking about transitions. Teddy, you already know what a transition is.
Well, I mean, you clearly don't, Lindsay, so I wouldn't pull at that thread if I were you.
I do?
We just did one.
We did?
Yeah.
Actually, no. Considering a transition has to be the process of changing from one state to another, and nothing actually changed, all you did was a screen effect. It was entirely superficial, which kinda represents those who shave their head and say they're a new or different gender, like non-binaries and transgenders. Damn, I'm on fire today. That media studies course is really paying off.
Well, let's do it again and see if you can get it. Ready, Teddy?
I already told you I'm ready, Lindsay.
Teddy, that's our transition.
Oh.
No, that was a jump cut. And be careful with doing those, Lindsay. Riley Dennis might appear like a moth to the flame. He loves jump cuts.
It is?
A transition is when you are between things or places or activities.
What, like being unemployed? I must remind myself to tell Sinatra Says an Irate Bear they're actually trannies.
Like when we go from our theme song back to the episode topic.
Oh.
Teddy, what do you usually do at school after you have free playtime?
What? He goes to school? Well, then why is he such an idiot? And why is no one called Bear Protective Services? I mean, he's been wearing the same clothes for a year now. That's a red flag, right?
We read a story.
Okay, well, what happens in between playtime and story time?
Oh, we clean up.
That's right.
Ugh, I do not want to know what he's cleaning up, but from the look on Lindsay's mush right now, it ain't good. She's got that expression that says, "Go on, boy, get in there old deep like."
Is that a transition?
Exactly. That's one kind of a transition.
Well, again, no. It's a different activity. The transition would be the act of changing activity, not the activity itself. Otherwise, anything could be considered transitioning. Oh, I see what you're doing.
That's not a very fun transition.
Well, maybe not, but transitions are super important because they're how we experience change.
Yes, thank you. Change. That's a key word, Lindsay. Remember that? You've probably forgotten it already. Moving on.
We use transitions for lots of different things.
But what does that have to do with us and queer kid stuff?
I was just about to get to that.
Yeah, Teddy, know your place. This is why you're covered in cigarette burns, mate. It all seems friendly on screen, but as soon as that camera switches off, Lindsay's eyes turn red.
I know it's been a while, Teddy, but do you remember what the T stands for in LGBTQ+?
Trans. It stands for trans or transgender.
That's right.
It can also stand for traps. And seeing as the LGBT banner is predominantly about sexuality, we can surmise that traps are indeed gay.
And what does it mean to be trans?
It's when you do not identify with your assigned gender.
That's right.
Wow, the stupidity's strong today. Teddy, in order to be trans, you have to transition. Trans is a prefix, meaning across or over, and lots of words use it. Translate, transit, transfer. I mean, can you imagine shelling out hundreds of bucks for a transatlantic flight and the pilot says, just do it in your head, you know? Just identify as someone in a different country.
Being trans means that the gender and pronouns you identify with don't match the gender you were assigned when you were born.
I am getting so sick of the word assigned. Lindsay, you do know your gender's decided before you're born, don't you? That's how we get people knowing if their kiddie's gonna be a boy or a girl before they get fired out of the baby cannon. It's not like the doctor says, so, do you want to know the gender of your child? And then flips a coin.
But what does that have to do with transition?
Well, sometimes trans and non-binary grown-ups go through what we call a transition.
Yes, another key word. I mean, I've only been screaming it down my microphone for 2 years now.
They do?
Not all trans and non-binary people go through a transition, but a lot do.
Non-binaries? No, because there's nowhere to transition, is there? You can't set up camp in between two genders like you're some flyover state. To be non-binary, all you need is a dodgy haircut, a bad attitude, and some overalls. And if you dress as the opposite sex but don't transition, you're a transvestite, which does start with trans but isn't anywhere near the same thing.
And transitions can look totally different from one person to another. Why don't we give my friend Riley a call? She'll help me explain.
Oh, for fuck, I warned you about using that jump cut, didn't I? Now here he is. It's like saying Bloody Mary in the mirror, except you don't end up with a delicious tomato and vodka-based drink and instead get some whiny giraffe.
Hey, Riley.
Hi.
Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Teddy.
Looks like your framing's off and the sound is out of sync, but whatever.
Riley, what are your pronouns and how do you identify?
Oh, come on, Teddy. Look at him. Did you even need to ask? We all know he's gonna say, I use she, her, or they, them pronouns, and I'm a non-binary trans woman, without once realizing your pronouns are actually for me to use when I'm talking about you, not to you. So what's the point of even saying unless you're trying to control how I talk about you when you're not there? Not gonna happen, mate. If I think you're a cockwomble, I'm gonna refer to you as a cockwomble.
I use she, her, or they, them pronouns, and I'm a non-binary trans woman.
Cockwomble?
Riley, I was just trying to explain transitioning to Teddy. Can you help me out?
Oh yeah, Riley has no problem with being preachy. He'd walk through hot coals to say something on camera.
Sure, a gender transition is when a trans or non-binary person does something so their gender identity matches their gender presentation.
So they dress as the opposite sex. That's a transvestite, Riley.
This can look really different for different trans and non-binary people. For a trans woman, it might be as simple as growing her hair long.
So they dress as the opposite sex. Still a transvestite. I'm just saying. Putting those who cut or grow their hair under the same term as people who actually transition to alleviate body dysphoria is quite insulting to the latter. I mean, that's like saying Barbara's a real woman, even though it's just me in a wig. What did you say? Oh, no, nothing. That's what I thought, pussy.
But there are lots of things you can do. Some grown-ups take hormones. Either estrogen.
Estrogen.
Oh, so you know the name of the hormone typically associated with females, but didn't know what transitioning meant at the beginning of this video? And you're trying to explain what hormones are to your target audience of 3 to 7-year-olds. I mean, they haven't even hit puberty yet.
Or testosterone.
Testosterone. Got it.
To be fair, Teddy, if you did get it, your voice would be a lot lower.
Estrogen helps someone present more feminine, and testosterone helps someone present more masculine, like growing facial hair. Some trans and non-binary grown-ups might get surgery as part of their transition.
But as per the word, you aren't trans until you do. And what the hell is non-binary surgery? Do you just take it all away and leave some hairless mound like G.I. Joe? Poor guy. It's no wonder he was always shooting up the place. Angry man.
There are lots of different kinds of surgery. Usually we talk about top surgery and bottom surgery.
Target audience of 3 to 7-year-olds, Riley. This is insane.
Those kinds of surgeries help trans and non-binary people feel more at home in their bodies.
What does that mean?
It means Riley is doing his best to come across as special without actually achieving anything, Teddy.
What's a body home?
Some people don't totally feel comfortable with their bodies.
Oh.
Yes, and your target audience of 3 to 7-year-olds will learn all about that when they hit puberty.
then they should watch our video about body positivity.
They definitely should, Teddy.
I'm sure that'll solve it. All the men and women out there who look down at their gut and think, damn, I should lose a few pounds, just need to watch more Queer Kid stuff. If that doesn't make you throw up your last meal, nothing will.
But sometimes it's a little more complicated than that. It really depends on the person, but some trans and non-binary people need to do certain things to feel like they've fully transitioned.
Like complain about pronouns and bathroom laws.
And others might feel totally happy with their transition just by taking hormones or changing their clothes.
So we are counting changing your fashion style as a transition, are we? Funny how some people argue trans people existed before the invention of gender reassignment surgery and sequins.
That's right, Lindsay. Some trans and non-binary kids might transition too. Kids who are trans and non-binary can take something called a hormone blocker that stops their estrogen or testosterone, so it's easier for them to transition when they're grown-ups.
Wow! Wow! Are you actually selling the idea of hormone blockers to children right now? This is so wrong!
But it's really, really important to talk to your grown-ups and a doctor about that if you think it's something you might want.
Yep, I think we've covered it, Riley.
Hold on! It's the part when he says you should talk to your parents and a doctor that you decide to cut him off? This is so wrong!
I think so.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Riley.
Grown-ups,
Bye!
don't forget to check out Riley's channel.
No, that's not gonna happen. Well, I mean, I do, all the time, actually, but that's because he chats so much crap. I'm knee-deep in this kind of stuff, week in, week out. It's not a fun existence, but hey, it pays the gender-fluid bills. So there we go, guys. A lesson on transitioning made for children, by children. Or at least people with the intellect of children. This video really should have proved that Lindsay is trying to encourage kids to be trans or non-binary, but if it didn't convince you, there's always the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Please consider becoming a patron so I can stop myself from going through puberty. And check me out on BitChute where there's all kinds of hormones floating around. The links are in the description, and remember, if a truck identifies as Optimus Prime, it's still not a transformer.